What is going on? Welcome back to the OG Frenchie. Today we are taking a piece of 100 random layers of Damascus and turning it into Raindrop Damascus. This is a fairly simple process that I've done in the past, and lots of people do this pattern because number one, it's fairly easy, and number two, it's really cool looking when it's done. There's multiple ways to do this. You can drill random holes of random sizes all over the place like I've done here, or I've seen some that other makers do where you're very strategic with your hole placement, and that style looks cool as well. I'm making 2 EDC blades for a customer / family member, and I thought it'd be really cool to have kind of a random hole placement on these 2 blades. Now, this style of blade is one that I've made before. They're going to be relatively small and easy to carry for both my cousin and her husband, and I think that they're going to turn out pretty cool. Now, since I already had this Damascus thrown together, it's fairly simple. I'm just drilling holes in it and then smushing the material back out flat. I use a combination of the flattening dies, this ball hitch, and some drawing dies to get this job done. It really doesn't take a whole lot of time, and then we have our billet prepared and ready to make a couple of blades out of. I also wanted to give a big shout out to a couple of new channel members. We have XP Custom Knives and Joe Berry. I didn't realize that you guys joined the channel up until a few weeks ago, and I just thought that that was really cool. I've had 4 channel members for a long time now and no new members except for you 2 guys. So that is absolutely incredible. I really appreciate you guys supporting me and supporting the YouTube channel by your monthly donation of being a member. I think it's absolutely awesome. Anyway, without further ado, let's get back into making these blades. So after forging, this kind of gives you an idea. This is the width that we started with and the thickness of the original random pattern Damascus billet. And this is what we ended up with, thinner and wider. And this was just shy of 5 inches, so we grew it about 1.5 inches, and we also gained about almost a whole 1/2 inch. So forging definitely helps to maximize the steel, and now that we have this, we have a couple of knife patterns that we can make a few knives out of. And it may be hard to see, but if you look close, you can see some of the rings that have come to the surface after forging. Let's go ahead and get this cut out real quick. With just a few minutes on the portaband saw, we get this billet pretty much cut in half, and we now can start shaping each one of these blades. They're going to be a little bit different profiles, mainly due to the fact that I'm doing stock removal from here on out. As you can see, the one on the right kind of has a finger choil. The one on the left is more of just a straight full tang. So there's going to be a little bit of variety in between the two, which is kind of cool. The first one that I'm working on here is going to be the straight tang, and that is going to be for my cousin. And I believe this one will work well for her to put into her bag or purse, and it's just kind of a small knife that's going to be good for everyday cutting tasks. The other one with the finger choil gives you a little bit better grip, and I feel like that would be better for him to be using on his farm. And the cool thing about these EDCs, in my opinion, is that they are big and small at the same time. They're kind of that perfect medium shape where you can put it in your hand comfortably, but it's not too big and bulky to where you're not going to want to carry it. I feel like the best EDC is going to be the one that you always grab, and it's hard to do that on bigger blades. Now these are still kind of big, but they are small enough to carry with you comfortably. Now that we have the preheat treat bevels done, it's time to start thinking about handle material. We're going to start with her knife. I've got a couple just pieces of some liners, and then we're going to be using this piece of epoxy resin that I made probably 2 or 3 years ago, and it's been sitting in my drawer, and I've been wondering what the heck I'm going to use it for. I've done some epoxy resin scales in the past, and they can be really cool. I'm also going to be adding a piece of walnut to the mix, and not just any walnut. This is walnut all the way from Hewelton, New York, off of her family farm. And I thought that that would be really cool to incorporate a piece of a tree that grew up at her childhood home, which her parents still live at all the way in upstate New York. Pretty cool. And once we get those scales glued up, we're moving on to the next knife. This is going to be his knife, and I've got some really cool multicolored linen micarta scales. And obviously these scales are huge, so I don't need all of them, but that works to my advantage because I can choose what part I want to use off of these. And there's the part there towards the top that's got more of the blue and a little stripe of green, which I think would be really cool. So gluing these up went super fast and easy. There's not a whole lot of intricate parts to this. It's just the pieces and a liner. Now that the glue is set on these, we can go ahead and start thinking about drilling holes in the knife and begin to trim some of these pieces back. Now for his knife, it's pretty straightforward. I really just need to clean up the front of the scales and drill the holes. For her knife, I want to try something different. So what I'm going to be doing for this is I'm going to be doing a lanyard hole on the back side of the knife, which will still expose some of the Raindrop Damascus pattern on the back. And in order to achieve this, I have to cut these scales down to size on both the front and the back of the piece and pretty much get them to their final fit and finish prior to gluing them up. So I spend a little bit of time cleaning these ones up, and then we jump into heat treating the blade and finishing it out to get ready for etching and gluing it up. Quenching these two blades went really well. They're both nice and hard, and I think I ended up with around a 60 to 62 Rockwell for both of these blades. After tempering them, I'm back at the belt grinder, cleaning up the forge scale and thinning out the bevels a little bit more, and then just running through my progression of belts prior to hand sanding. Once I get that done, I'm pretty much jumping into hand sanding and preparing for etching. And that's pretty much all I do for this knife that you're looking at now. This one is going to be for her. Because I've already knocked the scales back to the spine, there's not a whole lot of shaping or really any work that needs to be done after gluing it up, minus cleaning up the leftover epoxy. Once we have that one done and out of the way, we can go ahead and take a look and get an idea of what it's going to look like. And the rest of the video will be focused on shaping out the other knife and working on one of the sheaths. I ended up making a Kydex sheath for him and a leather sheath for her. Anyway, enjoy the rest of this video. I'll quit rambling for now, and once we get these two knives wrapped up, we'll jump in at the end and talk a little bit about each one. Well, now that I've provided you with a spectacle equal to a Grateful Dead concert, we can move on with making a sheath. I know I'm weird, just deal with it. Anyway, I'm going to be using this cool new Kydex, new to me anyway. It's got kind of a basket weave pattern, and I'm interested to see how it'll look when it's done. But most of my knives, I'll tape up a couple of layers of painter's tape, and I'll also add this little piece of cardboard if the knife has a finger choil, and that kind of helps keep the Kydex from smushing too tight back there. It'll still retain the knife and have a decent click, but it won't make it so hard when you go to pull it out. Anyway, let's get this thing heated up, get it pressed, and we'll finish up this video. Alright, so I got the other one sharp. We just need to sharpen this one. And I'm using this little Win, I think this is a Win knife holder. Just use that to pinch the blade. And then I've got my sharpening system that I've been using since day one, the 1x30. And it works pretty good. It honestly is very similar to like the Perfect Edge that Dennis and Brian are promoting. Kind of the same idea, right? You got the bar that holds the angle, and you've got the holder that holds the angle on the bar that's holding the angle. It's a lot of angle holding, but yes, that is what I do, and it works pretty good. I've tried other ways to sharpen blades. I've tried stones, and I've tried freehanding, and I can freehand, but nothing beats the Perfect Edge ghetto version. It really is pretty awesome. Also, too, somebody asked me, and has asked me in the past, what is the thickness behind the edge? Those sorts of questions are not ones I typically will worry about too much, although maybe I should. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Should I be worrying about the thickness behind the edge? I mean, I guess in some sense you kind of have to worry about it, right? You don't want to go sharpening a 1/4 inch thing, as that will take forever to get sharp and may not even be sharp. But it is something to think about, right? Like the geometry of your knife edge, that is important for sure. And why do some knives cut better than others? Well, heat treat for sure, but I bet you it's got a lot to do with geometry and maybe the thickness behind the edge. Anyway, I've got a set of calipers here. I don't normally do this, but I thought I would do it for fun. I'm going to try to put this right behind the edge, if I can get it right on the edge. All right there. So 19 thousandths. Let's try over here towards the tip a little more, see what that will be looking like. Okay, 13 thousandths. Maybe I had a little bit bigger bite there on the first one. 18 thousandths. So yeah, I'd say 15 to 20 thousandths for this. And I don't know for my other knives, but this looks pretty close to most of my other knives. So there you go. Maybe that answers the question for the guy who had the question. I don't know. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this sharp and wrap this dude up. Hopefully I will keep that in real time because this thing is already apexed. I can feel it all the way down to the very tip. And I spent more time talking about sharpening this than I actually did sharpening it. Now, of course, I'm going to run through my next couple of belts and strop it, but that is why I like this system, is because it doesn't take hardly any time whatsoever to get one sharp. Well, there you have it. 2 really cool EDCs done. And each one of these knives is super unique in its own right. And I think it's really cool because they came from the same piece of steel and they are meant to be a set. His and her. And I really think they're going to dig them. For her knife, she's able to use this just as an extension or to, you know, grab it and pull out the knife. She can also hang it up in her workshop. Yeah, she doesn't have a workshop. Maybe she does. I don't know. But anyway, there's lots of different things you can use that for. I like them for myself because I use them to pull the knives, hang the knives. You could also use it as maybe an extra grip to give you a little bit more grip. That actually does work a little bit. Anyway, they also look cool, which is definitely a plus. And yeah, I just think that it adds that extra flair to the knife.
Oh man, I'm on fire today.
Nature boy, Ric Flair.
Now, I'll be doing some close-up shots of these here in just a minute, but for the most part, they turned out really cool. I really like the wood, the natural vibe of the walnut with the leather, and that little pop of color with the epoxy. And his knife is super cool too. I love the linen micarta. It's just really cool and classic looking. The handle shape is just about perfect on this. And the reason why I continue to make these blades is because I have one. And my EDC is very similar to this. In fact, I believe it's right behind me. So here is my blade that I've been rocking and carrying for, oh gosh, probably a year now, 2 years. And this is one that I made out of a file. And it just works really, really well. This thing has one little chip in it up top. I don't know if you can catch that or not. Maybe not. Yeah, right there. One little itty bitty tiny chip. But for the most part, this thing, I have not had to sharpen it. And it is still pretty deadly sharp. Even after a year of using and abusing this. And the reason why I like the handle like this is because you can hold it lots of different ways. You can grab a full grip like this and cut with it. You can also use the front of the scales as kind of a pinch grip if you're going to be cutting to the side. You can also hold it upside down and cut rope with it. They're just really cool. And overall, it is, in my opinion, one of the coolest knife shapes that you can come up with. So that is the reason why I decided to go with this particular shape again for him, because I know if I like it, he'll probably feel the same way. Got all kinds of different ways to hold it and use it. Anyway, yeah, the Kydex turned out really cool. I love the basket weave pattern. Again, the snake knot lanyard is to help pull the blade out. And you can kind of see, hopefully, and hear what I was talking about. It has a decent click. It's definitely not falling out, but I don't have to hurt myself trying to yank it out. So it's that right combination of a good click and good retention that I feel like makes a good Kydex sheath. Anyway, there it is, a couple of blades, and they are going to a really good home. and I had a lot of fun making them. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I've got lots of other projects coming up. I have plenty more knives to make for sure. I hope to see you guys soon in another knife build. In fact, the next one that we're going to be working on is another knife for another customer, and it is a repeat customer. His name is Bo. He is asking me to make him a really cool profile out of bandsaw blade Damascus, and he gave me a bunch of bandsaw blades. I'm actually right in the middle of forging out the billet in its current condition. It's soaking in some WD-40, and I am working my way into making this a cool blade. And it's enough steel where I should have more than enough steel to make a couple blades with this. So anyway, I hope to see you in the next video. Appreciate you guys watching, and I hope to see you soon. Peace.